today on My First Concert.
It was the most amazing. That was a day I got really totally bit on jazz. And there's been a lot of crossover rock bands like that, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Yes, and to a degree, Rush, it has the time signature stuff. And I really got into that style of where music can go and what it can be, and really wanted to understand jazz. And this is back in, 1973, 4, whenever I saw it. Well, he played with Miles Davis. Well, who's that?
Yeah.
It's like, there's no internet, right?
Steve Heckler, longtime executive director of, as we mentioned, one of the country's most popular jazz festivals, and he started here in the Twin Cities back in '99. He's our guest today. We're going to talk to him on My First Concert, brought to you by Star Bank. Star Bank with 10 locations here in the state of Minnesota, including the Metro, and also by our friends over at AquariusHomeservices.com. Jeff and his staff over there doing a great job, and we'll tell you more about them in a minute. Well, Steve, appreciate you coming in. First of all, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk, first of all, growing up out on the East Coast in New York, what was the first concert you went to?
Well, we were talking about this. I was trying to go back and see how memory would serve me. My parents took me to symphonies and different concerts. They were into classical music quite a bit and a little bit of artistic. So every so often we'd see a couple bands, rock bands here and there. But one of the first bands I'm kind of thinking, first band I saw was Mott the Hoople.
Mott the Hoople.
Remember them?
I do, yeah.
I don't know who that is.
No kidding.
No.
All the young fools? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All the young dudes. I'm sorry.
All the young dudes.
All the young dudes.
Steve and I could probably sing it for you. No, we won't do it.
They probably didn't make it to Europe. I don't know.
Well, they were from Europe.
Yeah.
Well, they're from England,
Really?
I think.
Yeah, you're probably too young. That's the problem.
Yeah, they're be thankful that you don't know who Mott the Hoople is.
Yeah, right. And what's interesting about that band, the opening act was a 4-piece band, just getting going, right?
Just getting going.
When we were in row 4, it was a band called Queen. Have you heard of that band?
I heard of that band.
I was
yes.
fourth row looking at Freddie Mercury, and this is before their major album came out, of course,
Yeah.
And we're just staring at this man. And I'm sorry, but they kind of blew Mott the Hoople off the stage. It was just insane. And I think that was the day I really got bit on rock and roll. I was a true rock and roll, over the diving board, down into, I'm in 100%. And from there, I went to concert basically every single time I could, every weekend, whenever I could, I'd go see some rock and roll.
When you watched Queen open up and nobody really knew who they were at that time, did you think, hey, these guys could be pretty good, or were you just waiting for Mott the Hoople?
Well, we were too young to really know anything.
Yeah.
Things were being passed around. I don't want to, on the radio here. I don't want to get into detail. It's legal now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem anymore.
We know they were fantastic. And I thought, even though I was young, I said, boy, these people are going to go somewhere. This band is phenomenal. I mean, beyond phenomenal. And we didn't realize they were going to get that big. And who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it was one of the better shows. And I still remember that show quite well, just watching Queen going on. And Mott the Hoople had a lot of antics on stage. They had a lot of little circus clowning. That song Marionette they did, I think, was their main hit, one of their other big hits.
Yeah, before they had the video screens and everything, they were doing stuff up on stage.
They had little clowns with their heads circling. I don't know. It was again, I could be wrong on exactly what it was, but it was pretty funny. But truly, Queen was outstanding, and I still remember that to this day.
And you and I were chatting a little bit about one of the earlier bands that we saw was Foghat.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just thought they were awesome. They were so good.
Foghat and what was the other one? Foghat toured quite a bit.
Yes.
They were hitting quite a bit. And Bad Company, that was the other one. Yeah. Bad Company and Foghat, you probably know them down from your area. Yeah. They toured together a lot. So it was wonderful to see. When you saw one, you usually saw the other. And probably saw those two bands together 50, 100 times.
Oh, I'll bet, yeah.
They played a lot of free concerts and a lot of other concerts. Or you remember back then, you could go to $5.
Yeah, $5, yeah.
You can go see Santana or some of the Woodstock bands,
Stand in line for tickets a lot of the time.
Yeah. Like Canned Heat was another band I saw
Canned
earlier.
Heat. Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. I just listened to them the other day.
You did?
Yeah. I still like listening to them.
Oh, yeah.
But they were a big Woodstock band, and then you were on the gates of Woodstock, weren't you?
We were close.
Yeah.
I was only 11.
What happened?
If I was 15, we got stuck in a traffic jam about 3 miles out.
Oh.
like every 99% of the other. You know, they say there were like 800, 900,000 went. There were probably at least 2 million sitting in traffic. If there was a bigger, you know, who knew, right?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Was it raining when you were sitting in traffic?
No, we were there probably for 11 hours, 12 hours.
Wow.
And they finally, an ambulance was taking someone out, and everybody followed the ambulance out. That was the only way to get out of there.
Wow.
I mean, it was insane.
I remember when I went to see U2 in Reggio Emilia, 150,000 people. It was an open-air concert at a smaller airport. The show ended at around midnight. Guess what time we were able to leave with the cars? 6 a.m.
6 a.m., yeah.
6 a.m.
How old were you?
That was in 96.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah. So I was driving. So,
You were,
but it was great. And by the way, I found the ticket stub of that concert.
there's a market for ticket stubs now.
I know. So I probably should put it on eBay or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish my parents saved the Woodstock tickets.
Oh, boy.
That would have been worth a lot.
Ooh,
Yeah. I just discovered that. And I'm sure people know about it out there listening, but I didn't realize the market for tickets, because you can't get them anymore, obviously, at all venues. But certain tickets for certain shows are drawing some kind of like baseball cards, I guess.
Yeah,
Wow.
just become collectibles, you know.
Yeah. Well, we were talking, Steve, we were talking about when you went to Yankee Stadium and sat out in the cheap seats and could barely see the field. If you got 150,000, what kind of seat did you have? What kind of view did you have of the band?
It was like standing. We were like probably 200 yards from stage.
Oh, wow.
It was huge, and
Did they have a video screen yet? You too?
they
They were
did.
one of the
had
first, I think.
They had this first huge LED screen. That was 96. LED lights were just coming like to life, and yeah, that was their first. They were known. They set, the bar really high after that tour, and they lost their underwear almost on that tour. U2 back then, they didn't make no money on that tour at all.
Really?
Because of the cost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Well, they've done okay since, I guess.
I guess so.
Steve Heckler's with us, former executive director of the Twin Cities Jazz Festival, and founded it. And we're going to ask you more about that and how that whole thing happened, Steve, here in just a minute. I do want to thank our sponsors, and I want to mention our good friend Jeff and all his crew over there at AquariusHomeservices.com, here from the AquariusHomeservices.com studios. And summer temps are rising now. We can feel it. But at Aquarius, it's time for their summer meltdown of savings. You get up to $3,000 off a new high-efficiency cooling and heating system. Plus, with a qualifying purchase, you'll get a free whole home air purification system. So stay cool and comfy with amazing air quality for years to come. I battle with allergies, I know, like many of you do, and that's why I went to Jeff and say, hey, can we get that installed, that whole home air purification system? And I know, at least for me, it's made a difference. It all starts with a free in-home consultation. So I would do that, and one of their highly trained comfort specialists is going to provide you options that make sense for you and your home. And that's not all. Enjoy special prices right now on the new heat pumps and the mini splits, and 50% off an AC tune-up. So don't miss Aquarius's Meltdown of Savings sale. It's now through July, but I scheduled today at AquariusHomeservices.com. I just had them come out and tune up our furnace for the summer, or our air conditioning, I should say. Aquarius believes in earning the right to be recommended, and I could tell you I use them because I've known Jeff, who started his company over 2 decades ago. They're really, really good. Steve Heckler's with us here. Dave Lee here, along with Davide Razzo, our producer. Okay, Steve, rock and roll, Woodstock, Queen, Mott the Hoople, and all these Foghat. But where did this love of jazz start?
Well, excuse me. When I was a child, my parents had a Count Basie album. So every so often I just listened to it. I still remember the song, Rockin' by Basie, that was on there.
Do you still remember the record player?
I still remember the record player.
Isn't that funny?
And lifting the needle. Remember those days? You'd lift the needle.
Yeah.
Although records are back, so I shouldn't. This is not a.
Yeah.
I think young people listening probably have a good concept of trying to lift the needle off without scratching the record, right?
Yeah. Turntables were interesting. And those
Exactly.
needles were. But anyway.
So So I would, we'd go to these different shows, and every so often I would pop into a jazz show. I saw like U.B. Blake, a very famous piano player. But still, I was in the rock and roll mode and this, that. And there was a place in Portchester, New York, near where I lived. And I was cycling shows. I saw Bad Company, Foghat, Santana. And one day a new band came in and we didn't know who they were. We just went because we had nothing to do that night, or you go see a band. It was called Return to Forever. And it was Chick Corea's band, if you remember that band. And it was a crossover from rock into fusion jazz kind of sound. And, it used to be, we were all musicians too back then a little bit. So we would listen to Santana, Foghat, and then after the concert, go to my friend's basement or our basement and go jam what we heard, right? But when we heard Return to Forever, we knew we were not going to go to the basement and play that. We're like, what are you playing? I mean, we could not fathom. It was beyond comprehension what these guys were doing. Chick Corea, Al Di Meola on drums there, Lenny White, and, but it'll come to me in a minute, on bass. But it was the most amazing. That was a day I got really totally bit on jazz. And there's been a lot of crossover rock bands like that, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Yes, and to a degree, Rush, it has the time signature stuff. And I really got into that style of where music can go and what it can be, and really wanted to understand jazz. And this is back in, 1973, 4, whenever I saw Chick. Well, he played with Miles Davis. Well, who's that?
Yeah.
It's like there's no internet, right?
No.
So I'm
you
running
had an Encyclopedia Britannica or a World Book. That's
right. That's it. So I ran. Well, I ordered Sam Goody or one of those record stores.
Yeah.
I ran off to a record store. Well, I started looking at all these albums and So I started picking up Miles Davis. I started picking up whoever, Charlie Parker albums, and I started really getting into totally bit. I myself personally took music lessons at the conservatory just to learn jazz. So I became a real jazz lover at that point and moving forward. And so I still love rock and roll. Classic rock and roll is really a love of mine. But just the love of jazz, really. And when I came to Minneapolis in 1985 in the Twin Cities, just the level of musicianship here. And then I started listening to a station called Jazz 88, which plays jazz. And playing exactly, I like this town. I thought I'd be here 1 year. I said, no, this is... And then listening to what Prince was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, Prince, just listening to what he could do in 1984 when his, about 40 years ago when Purple Rain came out.
Yeah, hard to believe.
My gosh, what Prince was doing was just phenomenal. I mean, he was incorporating and fusing a lot of different styles into his stuff. So just listening to the scene here, and that's why I love Minneapolis and the Twin Cities, just because of the level and quality of jazz and music, and not just jazz. I'm just saying that people, it's all kind of blues and rock here is phenomenal. Just being able to be part of that. So just being able to have started an event like the Twin City Jazz Festival was, I feel very fortunate.
It turned out to be a huge success, and still is. But let's talk about those. Well, first of all, let's go back to being a musician. At what point did you say, I'm going to put this away and start working on organizing this? Well,
in 1998, as I was trying to prove friends we had good jazz. I recorded some albums, recorded some jazz, and then a new thing came out called the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how the Jazz Fest started. It was a way to sell CDs. And all of a sudden, I thought a couple hundred people would show up. About 3,000 showed up. And like, what the heck did you do? I don't know what I did. Wow. So that was when the Jazz Festival started. So when you start getting into production and into all, there's only so much hours you have in a day, right, in life and all. So for me to practice every day, to perform as much as I was, and do production could not happen.
Right.
And sometime in life, you have to make some compromise. And that was what I like production more. I think I could do that. I had more passion for that than I did. I love playing, believe me, but I had more passion for producing something for the community. And that's kind of what it is. It's a community event, and it was just really exciting to be able to be part of that.
Yeah, but the success kept going.
Yeah.
And now you've stepped down from that role.
Yeah, there came a time. You know what it's like to get older, right?
Yeah,
Davide does not. We'll leave him out.
Young kid.
I'm right behind you guys. So.
Well, you reach a point where it needs a new infusion, new people coming in. Mm-hmm. People are aging out. My staff were aging out, and it's just a time to let a young person come in and be a CEO. And I also realized let them pick the board that's what they want. Mm-hmm. CEO shouldn't be shouldn't be determined by, well, that's not the way the other guy did it. That's not the way, as a new CEO shouldn't be bound by that. Let them pick their own people. Because any successful entity of any sort needs to have that freedom to move forward to where it needs to go. Things change. So I'm very happy. This will be the first time I've watched the Twin Cities Jazz Festival. I've never seen it.
Well, sure, you haven't. It's like a photographer at a game. They never really see the game. They're looking for moments.
Yeah. So 25 years I've done this. I started to now.
And now you can
I had a radio on, right?
Yeah.
I was dealing with what other porta potties in there. Is it bus?
Steve, we need more waters over here.
Yeah. And so I just never, but also you're just so wrapped up in the day-to-day or the moment. You never sit down. So this year I'm bringing a lawn chair and I'm going to sit out there and watch the festival. I'm going to go watch it. I cannot tell you how excited I am.
Are you gonna watch it and go, I think they should have done this?
Yeah, who did this?
Oh, God.
Oh.
I won't criticize myself too bad, although I do that enough.
Yeah, we're always hard on ourselves. But, I mean, and then as you started it, I don't know what you saw down the road. Did you see how many years you thought you might do it? Did you see the success it had? I mean, you talk about the initial response.
No idea. None. When I did this, it kept going. It kept growing. You try to walk away many times, but no one lets you.
Yeah.
It was just a needed thing to happen. So it kept growing. We had a lot of support.
How'd you book those bands that first year? How'd you do that?
Basically, there was a learning curve that happened.
Well,
here,
there has to be.
Yeah. So I got friends that I had recorded. I said, look, no one knew it was a festival. It was just we're doing this act. And we worked with the Live After 5, the Minneapolis Downtown Council. You remember at PB Plaza?
I sure do.
I said we'd have a few hours, and we cover the bands, let us use the logistics. And that's what I said, about 300 people I predicted. And they can keep all the beer money, just let you help me with the production. Anyway, about 3,000 showed up. We had a stage that could hold the whole area because it was in front of the park, could hold, I don't know, maybe 100 people, 200 people. Wow. And we had to chase people off the street on Nicola Mall. We had to get them out.
Oh, yeah.
Buses were about to run them over,
Oh, God.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we had bands we knew, and as the thing grew, it's just the level of musicians that were in this city. That's the hard part. You have way more talented musicians than you have slots. And
when did it move to St. Paul?
It actually expanded to St. Paul initially.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had it in Minneapolis, and one of our board members was a former mayor of St. Paul. So, we should do something in St. Paul. So we slammed on the brakes about 20 years ago. We slammed on the brakes in Mears Park. Kevin Barnes, who was with me, who used to be with Jazz 88. And it looked like a New York pocket park to me. It looked really cool.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
But nothing was there. Nothing. No meters would, nothing. $1, I think, for the whole day, nothing. But we liked the park. It looked cool.
Yeah.
So we did one day there the weekend before and then went into the big one in Minneapolis. But over years, St. Paul kept growing. I mean, we had a city that kept supporting us. It kept growing. And unfortunately, the one in Minneapolis, PB with construction and timing, it shrunk.
Yeah.
So in 2009, we moved everything to St. Paul because that was the space we had. And then about a year or two later, the whole city, the whole lower town changed.
Yes.
And for me personally, one of the best accolades I ever received was in the Star Tribune and Pioneer Press. It said, we don't know when Lower Town turned around, but we know what happened during the Twin Cities Jazz Festival. And that meant more to me than anything because I knew I was part of a recovery of a city, and I was at least part of that formula, that success that made it happen. And you're seeing a train go through it, you're seeing restaurants, you're going, man, how did,
Yeah, trendy, hip restaurants.
CHS Field is there now.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool. So,
Big farmer's market, that's a hot place.
It's nice. We're part of it. By the way, we had Dr. John, another old band.
Oh, yeah.
I
saw him in California one time.
Yeah. So Dr. John was another early band I saw. I can't remember if he wasn't the first band.
But before we knew who Dr. John was?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was like 1970s.
So you were in the right place at the right time.
Time was right time. You should write that down.
Yeah.
No, so in 2015, I had the opportunity. He was the first. We booked him as the first band to play in CHS Field. That was funny. It's funny as heck. Because back in '70, when 3 or 4, he started off with Iko, then went to, and the third song was in the right place. Fast forward to 2015, first song's Iko.
Wow,
it was the same set.
Same set list.
He still plays. It's funny. He was just fantastic.
Yeah, he's a New Orleans guy.
He was in New Orleans. Yeah. That's another thing. We bring a lot of New Orleans musicians up here. We've had Marsalis's up here.
Yeah.
You know, a lot, just on and on. So
How about where you grew up in the Bronx? Any jazz influences there?
Well, there were a couple of jazz clubs, but I left the Bronx when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So most of it came after that. Most of it was in downtown Manhattan in the music. What is it called? The Music Academy. God, I have to remember all this.
Yeah, good memory.
Yeah, one in Portchester. So we just drew free concerts at the Central Park. Ton of free shows down there. So we would just go wherever. And again, $5 concerts, if you remember those days.
Oh, I mean, they were the greatest. And now some of the communities are doing free concerts. Apple Valley does. Shakopee does. I think Maple Grove does. Mm-hmm. They're just, I mean, and they're well attended.
Yeah, and I just encourage anyone listening, go out and support these things. Go out and watch the concerts. I mean, if you're listening to radio, whatever station you like, yep. I personally love Jazz 88. They'll mention a lot of concerts. Go to them, support them. I mean, that helps the community big time.
One of the things that a lot of us like to do is go to the Orpheum, see the Broadway shows, or go to the Ordway, speaking of St. Paul, or wherever it is. But those two venues I think of for Broadway shows. And a lot of those musicians that back those up, aren't they a lot of local musicians
yes,
here?
Many musicians are hired here to back up shows and traveling things that come through. We have that level of talent here that can do that. I mean, you have to be an incredible sight reader.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be an amazing sight reader and also obviously a musician. And, in addition, you have to be able to do both. And we have that here. We have that level where they can sit and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 and nail it. I mean, these are complicated charts. I've seen some of the charts, and how are you pulling that off that well? But they do.
Yeah, world-class musicians. Because you and I talk about the Minnesota sound, and it's still as vibrant as ever.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I was just talking to Noah Levy, who's just right across the hall here with the Honey Dogs, and he did a gig last year with Jennifer Grimm. Remember, we did that Jazz Collective concert.
Yes.
He was just telling me yesterday, "Oh man, that was a great thing," and I kind of was like, even the Saturday before the show, or right the day off the show, I still didn't know I didn't have any charts, and so I just showed up. But Jennifer was a great instructor while playing. That's the level of musicians we have here.
Yeah.
In this town. It's incredible.
It's amazing. It's incredible the level of talent we have here. Yeah.
And interestingly enough, Doc Severance, I got to know through the years just because of the job. We became pretty good friends, but he loved playing here, and he'd talk often about the talent in this town.
Well, piano player Mary Louise played with, I believe,
Mary Louise,
played with Doc Severance.
Yeah,
was his keyboard was a piano player for him.
Yeah, a lot of locals play with a lot of people. Well, I mean, Maynard Ferguson, Buddy Rich, I'm sure, and many others.
Yeah.
Big names.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're now you have success at the festival and people want to be there. It's going to be a big crowd. You're going to have a lot of people. Do you actually have to turn people down that want to play?
Unfortunately, yeah, a lot.
What a good problem, though.
Yeah, it's a good problem. It's not. You try to get as many involved. You try to get as many in as you can to the festival. And you try to keep the lineup as diverse as you can, the festival, different style, and I mean that word in stylistically and every other way. It's possible. But there are so many musicians coming up, and it's hard. It's just, you only have so many venues and how much resources you have to fund all this, and how can we, and we pay full on scale. We want to make sure musicians are treated as musicians, what their talent, what they are, not out there for any other reason. They earned it, for being that. So yeah, we do the best we can as far as Minnesota musicians. Trying to get as many as we can involved.
And you're not playing as much as you used to at all, are you?
No, myself personally. Well, first of all, I'm more of my joke is to play my stage, you have to kick my butt. All right. And that's not egotistic.
Yeah.
It does not take a whole lot to kick. But if I can come and jam with your band on my stage, you're not playing it.
Yeah.
You're not there. If I can get a jam with it, I want you to humiliate me. I want you to humiliate me as a musician and as a human being. Just humiliate me. Because if I'm feeling that way, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. The crowd will feel that way.
Yeah.
So I always encourage musicians, if you're not, listen what's going on. get out there. Let's go to the different venues around, see what they're doing, and you better get to that level.
What are the dates? What are the dates this year?
Twin Cities Jazz Fest is on June 21st and 22nd.
So coming up
in Mears Park.
Yeah, it's in Mears Park, and it's all free. And it's all free to attend. There's about 20 plus venues, and it's a walking event, which is cool. So you have Mears Park where the outdoor stages are, but there's like 20 clubs around that you could just walk. If you don't like this band, you go to or you want to check out that and check out this.
Yeah.
There's going to be the main stage. Then there's going to be Fifth Street, a stage who will alternating with main stage. So when nothing goes on main stage on Fifth Street, there will be something going on. Then there's also this year, I believe, 2 youth stages. One is in I forgot how they called it. It's a common space. I forgot how it's called. Do you know?
Not Rice Park.
No. One's over Creators Cup, I think.
It's the creator space, the
They
former
changed it.
creator space.
Right, correct.
It has a different name, and then the other one is the TPT stage.
Right.
So, and on those 2 stages, there will be a youth bands playing, which I really like that they do that.
Oh, great experience.
That's how you support the local musicians,
Right.
and that's how you get the young people to come out as well.
We had, just so you know, I mean, one of the reasons that we love the festival, we had over 100 youth playing the festival.
Man.
We always want to encourage that.
How cool is that?
And some have gone on. Some have gone on to, incredible stuff. I mean, I can name one, Corey Wong, who was a young youth one. He's like a huge star right now. Travels around the world.
Oh, I didn't know he played in the jazz festival.
Because he was
as
one
a
of the
young
youth.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then we became friends when he was younger, and he would be one of the nicest guys that ever. And he would,
having
just
great
a great
success.
musician. It's really good guitar player. Really amazing.
Steve Heckler's with us. He founded the Twin Cities Jazz Festival the first time ever this June. He'll be sitting there in a lawn chair watching it.
And smiling.
And taking no calls about porta potties or concessions or anything else. I don't think. Maybe they'll see and say, hey, we need your help on this. We'll come back with them in a minute. And when I come back, we'll close it off here. But I do want to, and I appreciate your time today, but as someone who's been in the middle of this, I want you to think about this. If you were to stage a concert with the 3 bands that you could see, alive or not, or acts, who would they be? So think about who you would put on stage. You can only have 3. Anybody in any stage in
Any genre?
any genre, and alive or dead, it doesn't matter to us. So, because the music lives on forever. So,
I might need 4 concerts.
yeah. So, you might get 4. Well, you could think about that for a minute. And that's always a tough one. I know it is. I do want to thank our friends over at Star Bank. Man, they are really good. Did you know that? They're a Minnesota-based bank, family bank, still the same family that owns them. They own that very first bank. And they're here in the Metro too now. Star.bank, by the way, if you want to go to the website and take a look what they can do with loans. By the way, turnaround time on those are great. Service is outstanding. They handle things like a small-town bank. Competitive, obviously. Flexible, obviously. Experienced, for sure. Guidance, you need that. You need some support. They're there. They want you to thrive, obviously. And personal banking, whether it be an IRA, an HSA, a safe deposit box, gift cards, for Pete's sake, checking and savings. And, of course, for business, they have absolutely everything. Or maybe you're looking for a new home, get that mortgage. Digital banking, it's all there on your phone. It's still very cool, though, because when you call Star Bank, they answer the phone with a real live human being. And there's a little something different in this day and age. But I know we're all busy. I do, too. Digital banking is easy. So they've got all that for you. But when you go in, it's pretty neat. It's a neat throwback to the way things were, well, probably should be more often. And I would find out more about all that banking at your fingertips, all that experience. Take advantage of it. I'd call Star Bank today or go online at star.bank. Loans are subject to a loan application and approval. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. They are a bank, by the way, our bank here at talknorth.com. All right, Steve Heckler, you've had not enough time to think about it, but your concert, whether it be at the Carnegie Hall or over here at Mears Park, you can have 3 acts, the 3 acts that you would love.
I don't think anyone would show up to this because it's pretty bizarre. Yeah, I was thinking history. I was going historical thing like that, and influences. This is going to be a little strange.
I love it.
First of all, bluesy. I'd go Howlin' Wolf.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I know it's a little bizarre. Okay, And then I want something in that genre. I'm going to go probably Louis Armstrong.
Okay.
All right, the jazz. And
I think you've already sold it out, but you got to have that third band.
Yes.
and this is where so I'm trying to pick that rock and roll band that defined everything and all that. I was going with the Beatles, but I'm going to go with the Stones, the Rolling Stones. I'm going to,
So you're a
just
Stones person.
they'll probably be alive in 20 years from now, 30 years anyway.
Yeah.
They're immortal.
Yeah.
I think Ronnie Wood just turned 77.
They're
And he's the young
immortal.
guy.
Yeah. I was thinking also maybe, where I was going with some singers, would you go with the Frank Sinatra? Would you go with Aretha Franklin? I'd probably put someone like that on there. I don't know. How do you pick three?
I think if you had the Rolling Stones as the last act, they would be out in the audience watching those other two because I think those are all influences on them. Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming over. Congratulations on all the success and really, making a big difference, not only in the Twin Cities, but right there in downtown St. Paul, man. That's, like you said, that's quite an accomplishment to do that.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you kidding me? Thank you. Davide?
Well, thanks for coming, Steve. I got to know you a little bit since we started working together since last year, since I started to work for KBM, and it's been a pleasure. And it's always nice working with you. Now working on other projects at KBM together, and it's always a blast. So,
thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for coming on. I think that was it.
All our podcasts available to download, obviously, at Apple or Spotify or at TalkNorth.com, where we have a lot of podcasts for you to listen to. In the meantime, we're coming back next week, and we want to thank our friends over at Aquarius Home Services and the AquariusHomeservices.com studio, and, of course, everybody over at our local bank here, Star.Bank, with 10 locations throughout the state of Minnesota, and they are pretty darn good. So I'd enjoy both those sponsors if you get a chance. In the meantime, we'll see you next week on My First Concert.